Hey, how's it going? So, the new patch stuff came out tonight, and the new Assyria and side story stuff was shown off, and all of this. Let me tell you, that's pretty nice, right? But something else was shown, and it's kind of a big deal. So, Angel of Light Angelica. This unit is actually completely insane. I think this unit is beyond broken. Uh, this character right here, the third Angelica now. I kind of wanted to talk about not only her, how powerful she is, why I'll be skipping Carlos, ML Charles for her, and, kind of what it means for the game, I guess, really. So, this character is the third Angelica, and they changed her class to a mage, right? So she's a light mage 4-star. She's going to be on the Mystic Banner with Specimen Says coming up after Charles. And, most people aren't really going to pull in for Specimen Says, but because they don't care about him. But this character is so unbelievably broken that I feel like this is one of the few characters in the game that feels like a must pull if you are serious about endgame PvP. This character feels like a complete mistake from Smilegate. I actually can't believe their skill set. Honestly, when I saw the first ability, I thought, wow, this is crazy. And then when I saw the rest 3, I couldn't believe what they were doing. So, first of all, let me just walk through their abilities really quick and their stats. So for starters, 112 speed, pretty good. Not amazing base health. Good base defense. She's a mage. Mages have low base health but high base defense. Pretty standard. Effectiveness, effect resist, and, effectiveness imprint. Of course, it's easy to get that imprint. So if you think about it, she basically starts with like 41% effectiveness, which is pretty solid. And she has nice base speed, so you can put her at a good amount of speed. So this is her S2, which is her passive. This ability is unbelievably strong versus Cleave. So currently in the meta, Pavel is incredibly huge. Fairy Tale Tenebria is a pretty good character, except versus characters like Violet. Basar can be used. Any of these openers that do AoE, really. This ability makes all of those characters trash, basically. If you're against Basar, you would want to make her really fast if you're versus somebody like that, so that even with the pushback, so he pushes back 30%, and she gets 8% pushes from the team. So she still loses 6% CR, but theoretically, if you actually have a fast enough one, she would counter that. That said, that's not always the best counter ever, exactly. However, she does dispel the unbuffable and give skill null, so even if she doesn't get her turn right after, that's a big deal. Because one of the strengths of Basar is not only stripping the buffs, but the advantage you get over your opponent by making it so they can't buff themselves and also pushing them back. And the skill null prevents some of the damage that you're going to be taking, so that's a pretty solid counter. Versus Fairy Tale Tenebria, she removes the redirected provoke. She'll keep the unbuffable, so there's no skill null, but she basically prevents the entirety of what makes Fairy Tale Tenebria so strong, which is making you lose an entire turn. And then she gets to S3 right after, which we'll talk about in a second. Versus Pavel, he always S2s into S3, so if he S2s now, you get skill null, and she pushes up, and he's unable to kill anything with his S3. So he does absolutely nothing versus this character. And he's currently one of the strongest characters to have on your team, where you can basically just blow up anybody. And this hard counters him. This basically just makes him not a character when she's on your team. Then we move to her S3. This ability is ridiculous. So she gets a 24% CR push, assuming your team was just AoE'd. And so that basically means she gets the next turn, except against Basar. But other than him, pretty much you just get the next turn once you've been AoE. And she also cleansed a debuff, so let's say you silenced her, slept her, who knows what else. She gets to remove that debuff. And then she gets to activate this ability, which Broman who? This is just a better version of Broman's S3 in every conceivable way. Removes 2 buffs from all enemies, so it makes it so you can't protect your immunity or something like that, and also makes it so Fallen Cecilia's shield doesn't work. And it's a 100% chance at max rank. And it removes 2 buffs and was unable to be buffed, which is the same as Basar, Fairy Tale Tenebria, Bar Area. Not too many characters can do that kind of thing, where they strip and put unable to be buffed for 2 turns and silences for a turn. So they basically lose an entire turn. That's basically the same strength as somebody like Fairy Tale Tenebria, um, or somebody like that, where you lose an entire rotation of turns, and usually the match is decided by then. That's the crazy part, is Sansi for one turn can just instantly end the match, and especially if your opponent picked a character that's an opener, and the whole point is to be an opener to lead to the rest of the team, and then this character comes out, and that character is not only useless, so you're basically negating an entire character on their team, and then you silence the rest of their team. They lose all their turns. Cleave feels completely dead with this entering the game. I actually can't believe that they made this ability. Cleave feels like it's a piece of garbage now. And I know some people are going to be rejoicing, but already Cleave was kind of in a rough spot. I think the new Asaria actually seems like a very fun character for Cleave, but whether you're a Cleaver or not, I believe this is completely terrible game design, pure and simple. I think this is exactly what you shouldn't do. This character seems like an unbelievable sign of power creep. She she just completely counters any sort of opener. Like, the only thing you can possibly do is, I assume, Cerise S3 to restrict, but she still cleanses the slow and then puts skill null on your whole team, and skill null is usually an instant death knell to Cleave as well. So what are you supposed to do against this character? You have to just one-shot her with somebody like Acid or Akali. They might become popular. You could also pick her. You could use her in Cleave, I think, possibly. Or you ban her. And I can't really think of many other things to do about her. She's a character that not only counters some of the biggest openers in the game, such as Pavel and Basar, and, well, not always Basar, but characters like Fairy Tale Tenebria. But I feel as though Cleave is just completely crushed by this character. And whether you're on the side of Cleave or not, you have to admit that there's kind of a problem when they start making characters like that. It's really bad to have this kind of thing in the game. You don't want characters that just passively damage entire playstyles. Like, how strong this is versus Cleave is basically, if you had a character that when the match started, if you had above 20,000 health, you just lost 50% of your health at the start of the match, just to punish an entire playstyle. So that would be punishing tanks. This character craps all over Cleave, and I do a decent amount of cleaving, but I've kind of transitioned more to a bruiser playstyle in more recent times. But as somebody who's played a good amount of Cleave, I can tell you this is a disaster for Cleave. This is unbelievable that they made a character of this level. Politis was a character to counter Cleave, but Cleave incorporated that character into their Cleave. But now this character's coming out, and this makes Politis look like nothing. Like, Cleave can play around Politis. I don't know how you're supposed to be able to play around this. This character just feels like a must pick or ban if you're cleaving. You have to disguise your cleave until the very end to trick your opponent, and then you have to ban this. That seems to be how you're going to have to play around her. And that's not even going over S1, which, her main thing is her S2, S3, right? But her S1 is actually a pretty decent ability too. When you max this out, it's a 75% chance to silence, which is actually a really high chance, especially since silence basically disables most characters for an entire turn, which is a huge deal. And then after they're silenced, you decrease their CR by 25%, and Soulburn is a 100% chance to do this. That's a really good S1. That's a really, really good S1 on a character. So basically, all three of her abilities are incredibly top tier, like the highest of the high overall. And this was a sobering patch notes, let's just say. When they showed it off, I saw the Asaria and was very excited. Thought, wow, this is really cool. This is really interesting. They show off the side story, the little mini game, all of that. And I thought, wow, this is great. I'm interested to see what's next. They're going to show off Angelica. And then this came out, and I feel as though this is the wrong direction for the game. I don't think that something like this should ever exist. Also, she is an ML4, which is great. That sounds great in theory, right? No, that means you have to pull on a Spez banner, which almost nobody wants in the game, and there's no pity for 4-star MLs. So I think a lot of people are going to be pulling on that banner. They're going to be pulling Spez. They're going to be getting pissed. People are going to be maybe even pitting multiple Spezes trying to get this one unit. And I think Smallgate knows that, and that's why they made her an ML4 and so ridiculously powerful. She's sometimes even harder to get than an ML5. I've seen people pity twice 2 times before they even got an ML4 that they were looking for. Obviously, those are just whales, but you have to think about realistically how hard it is to get this character. Um, she's coming out right after the MO Leo trade-in, so you can't do that either. So overall, this character feels like they are a huge mistake in every possible direction. They're not really a free-to-play character. They're a character that just shuts down an entire playstyle. They aren't interesting or fun, really. They're absurdly powerful versus many openers in the game, or just lots of AoE in general. It feels as though this character is a huge blunder from Smilegate, and I really hope something like this never happens again. I'm not really sure how people are going to deal with this. Obviously, these are just the first impressions, right? And maybe it'll turn out she's not as good as I'm saying, and it's not all doom and gloom. But realistically, if you just look at the skill set, I don't think there's any doubt that this character is going to be a top tier character. And everyone's reactions when they saw this character, the first thing that they think is, well, am I reading something wrong? Or like, I must be misinterpreting something about this character. Because no one had seen a character that just does this much and harms so many units so hard. For people who have played this game a lot, they instantly realized how powerful this ability is, and that, wow, this is an insanely powerful ability. Like, I definitely want this character. This is going to be really strong versus Cleave and other openers, right? Just really, really powerful. And then when you see this, you're just in disbelief that this character could actually be this strong. This is a huge mistake, I think. I can't believe they're doing this. This is unbelievable to me, but it's happening, and you know, don't pull for Carlos, Mr. ML Charles, because he's getting power crept, or well, not power crept, but completely countered by the ML4 coming in the rotation after him. So, I hope you're used to playing bruiser or tanks, because I don't really know how somebody can get into Cleave at this point unless they have really, really, really good gear. Because this character, plus some of the other numerous cleave counters at the current moment, I feel are going to completely shut you out unless you are a god at cleave, basically. You have to be at the very pinnacle to truly make it work, I think, to be able to play around something like this or incorporate her into your draft. So, anyways, I just thought that I would talk about this because kind of an unbelievable occurrence that a character would come around that's this strong and feels almost like a must pull, but they're an ML4, so they're even more annoying to get. I am definitely going to be pulling for this character, and I think most other really competitive people are because they all see the potential in this character. And hopefully, they're either going to nerf this before release or they'll make a bunch of counters to this type of character, but that sounds like a slippery slope. So, this is definitely a mistake, and I'm hoping this doesn't happen again. Anyways, thanks for watching.